Ladies and gents and everyone in between, we've had a little bit of a flip-flop in our calendar today because broadband is not something that is guaranteed in all corners of the country for some reason. So, with that being said, I would like to put a little pin in Conrad Cable. He will definitely be joining us at some point, but for now, we have the incredible privilege of having a fantastic guest here from Wisconsin. But before we get to that, I just want to welcome everybody to It Takes a Village. We sit down with candidates from all over the country to discuss a wide range of issues brought by you, the viewer. I am your charming and furious host, Jess, Political Jess, and I'm not going anywhere. Before we get started, let's go over a few guidelines. First, we're going to be chatting with folks from all over the country, so if you have a question for our grassroots candidates, please request up. You'll be allowed one question, one follow-up, and they'll have 2 minutes or so to answer per question. 18 plus only, please, minor safety. Stick to current events, and remember, we are not a debate stage. There is absolutely no shortage of platforms on this app that will give that to you if that's what you want. This ain't it, fam. Please be respectful of these amazing people who are working so hard to make our country work for all of us. Failure to do so will result in your immediate ejection. Also, while we're yapping, please be tapping. This helps push our live out to the FYP, gets more eyes on these candidates who desperately need it. Also, please share the live. It does exactly the same thing. Let's show TikTok that we're engaged. Okay? Our guest tonight comes to us from the great state of Wisconsin, where cheese is to be had. Running tonight for congressional seat in Wisconsin, Laura Benjamin. Woo! Please give a warm welcome. If you have any questions for our candidate, please request up. Oh, hang on a second. I have to do a thing here. But there we go. Okay, things are in the way. All right. So before we take our first question from the village people, working title only, let's start things off with a little icebreaker, if you will. And I always hated these things, but here we are. Lots of people are inspired to run for office. What was the camel that broke your back?
Oh gosh, yeah. When I started this year, if you had asked me if I was running for Congress, I would have said that's insane. But I had been behind the scenes working on some policy ideas for what I thought was going to be another progressive candidate that I was going to support running for office, because my background is usually a behind the scenes person. I've worked in branding and marketing for many years, and I almost prefer sometimes to put my head down and just get things done. And I was an Eau Claire City Councilor here in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, for a little bit back in 2019. But my passion has been, again, solving problems. I guess is the best way I can put it. And what kind of pushed me over the edge was when I'm a member of the LGBTQ community, and when we saw day one executive orders start dropping that were fractionalizing our community and starting to carve up our coalition and say, these people qualify as Americans, these people start losing rights and they don't qualify, that's where I had some major issues. I gave a speech at the Hands Off rally on April 5th, if others of you ever went to those events in your local area. And after that was when the conversation started turning from who can we find to run this platform to, no, Laura, you should run this platform. So I did a little soul searching for a few weeks and ultimately decided to move forward. Win or lose, my goal here is to change the conversation to make people aware of the class war that's kind of under the undercurrent of everything that's been going on right now, and to fight to make things accessible and affordable, and for people to have human rights in this country, because we're not gonna let people suffer or fear our government. We need a country that works for all of us.
I think that is so important. My husband makes fun of me, by the way, because I say 1,000% all of the time. So if I say 1,000% 1,000 times tonight, then you know that you're on the right track, okay?
My daughter says 300,000 million percent. So.
Yeah, millions in percentages. Infinity. Okay, so would you mind giving us, the viewers, everybody here, just a little bit of background about who you are, what part of the country you are in, and just a little peek into your campaign?
Sure. So I'm based in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. The district that I would represent is here's Wisconsin, right? So you've got Madison and Milwaukee kind of down in this area here. Yeah, that's there. Eau Claire's kind of up here, and this district is this weird gerrymandered thing that kind of scoops around this side of the state. It's about 3.5, 4 hours from top to bottom, and 3 hours or so from left to right when you're driving. So it's quite a lot of area, and it's this really interesting mix of urban and rural folks. So it's been great to get around the district and kind of understand what's on people's minds. But most of it is based in what I just said. We need an America that's affordable for people, where they can make a living and have a future. We need to make sure that education and healthcare are accessible, and we need to make sure that people are protected. My background is mostly, again, behind the scenes. So I've worked in a lot of community organizations and nonprofits. I started one actually back in 2016 to bring a coding platform. So my background professionally is branding and marketing. So I started a nonprofit to help kids learn how to code. That got adopted by another group, and so it sort of lives on as something called Blue Gold Beginnings. I don't know if they're still operating because this was almost 10 years ago now, but we did that for a few years. And then I've also been involved in things like the United Way. There was an arts center that we needed to get built here in Eau Claire, and we had a lot of opposition to that because they didn't feel like that would fit in our community, even though it's been a huge boon now that we've actually been successful in getting that done. So a lot of times behind the scenes. And then, as I said, I was in Eau Claire City Council for a while, serving the community that way. I thought I was done with politics when I was out of that, but of course, here we are again, and I'm trying to get the word out.
I think that is super cool.
Yeah.
All right.
And we've got one of the worst guys here, Jared Fenton. If anyone's ever followed him, he's the guy that yelled at pages in the Capitol Rotunda. He took a bunch of books from a public library and yelled at minors over an LGBTQ inclusive book reading that was being done there and a book display that was done there. He offers everyone that goes to his office a beer, doesn't really check their ages. So, I don't want to spread rumors too much, but there have, from what I understand, been young people that maybe shouldn't be offered beers, but offered beers. So he's not what I would call maybe the best representation for the state of Wisconsin or our district.
Yikes. Yeah, and especially with as many, people with eyes on that sort of thing in the current climate that we are in. Yeah, yikes.
And he threatened to send me to Alligator Alcatraz, which was another one. You can check my video history for the story on that one, if you're really curious.
So he sounds like a real winner. Yeah, wowza. I thought Curly Fries had a question for you, and I know Bacon did too, so I'm going to try to bring Bacon up, and we'll get his question.
Good afternoon. I'm gonna introduce myself. I'm 46, California, Hayham, and I'm a disabled person. I want to ask you. Can I ask 3 separate questions? It's relatively in in injunction on what I am. I'm an immigrant. What programs, if you will have a chance to be a majority in the Congress when you win and the party wins, what are your plans for immigration and immigrants? And would you fight this administration and stop the ice cream people? I'm gonna say ice cream people for her life, ice cream people.
Thank you.
And tell this administration to stop sending the ice cream people to other states.
Great. Was that your whole question? I just want to make sure before I jump
in. Just one of my first questions.
Sounds good. Well, thank you for asking. Thanks for being brave to offer the first question here. My policy on the ice cream folks is that we need to relegate them back to being a bureaucratic organization, a bureaucratic department, not an active militia. That's the wrong way to go about this, and it's impacting people that are largely civil offenders, not criminals. The ones that are criminals, sure, we should find ways to make sure that they're held accountable, that we're going after those specific folks. But running around wearing masks and smashing things up and breaking due process and breaking the Fourth Amendment, this is not what this country is all about. And so, yes, I would definitely push back against that current mode of operation. On top of that, I'm running a little bit of a different kind of campaign. It's more rooted in activism and action. And so one of the things that I've done in the last few months is actually brought a coalition together that brought an ice cream hotline to Western Wisconsin. So in the counties surrounding Eau Claire now, there's a group of about 4 or 5 different organizations, including me and my campaign, that set up this process where there's a hotline people can call for assistance with their legal needs and with family resources. And we've got a group that goes out and communicates, like provides communication resources to different employers to help them understand how to protect their people. And then there's a second group that goes out and does family work and investigations to understand, like, how can we help support a family that's impacted by this. So this didn't exist in our community 3-4 months ago, and that's something that I have actually actively been working on bringing to the Eau Claire and county and surrounding areas.
Oh, thank you, and thank you for that answer. And because I was an immigrant, I've been racially profiled too many times on the ice cream people. So I just want to ask you on disabled disabled community. What are your plans to protect the disabled community? Plus, what programs would you implement or would you suggest to this administration for disabled community?
Yeah. Well, thanks for that question. And I'll say, I think it's awful that you and others have been racially profiled. I've actually heard about others in our community that have had that happen. One of my now dear friends, early in my campaign, he was actually an indigenous person, an American Indian, and he told me that he's been picked up by ICE. And I said, "Are you kidding me?" And he said, "Yeah, I've got brown skin. This is what they do." So, yeah, this is a big issue in our country right now. As far as your question regarding disabled folks, I certainly think that we need to remove barriers instead of create them. Right? We see that things like Medicaid are there for a reason, and they're there to help people who need them. And when we create additional barriers, additional structures that bar people from accessing that, now they can say all they want that that's not a cut, but in reality, this is a cut not just to the budget, but also to the services being provided and the accessibility that brings with it. There's a group that I know, a couple that I know from Adams County, which is a part of my district here, and they have I think he's a 42-year-old son who's autistic to the point of being permanently, disabled and needing lifelong assistance. And one of the things that really struck me is that I heard about how, even in the current climate, they're having to show, once a year that he's still autistic, he's still disabled, he still has difficulty functioning in day-to-day life, he still needs to be part of this group home. They almost lost their care this year because of a paperwork error. This was something that, because these folks were retired, they had to go like 3 times back to their doctor, back to the administration, and say, look, he actually needs this care and support. He actually does qualify for this service. And finally, they got it approved. Imagine having to do that every 6 months. What a nightmare for folks. So I think at bare minimum, we need to restore and maybe even improve access to Medicaid services and see where we can go from there.
Thank you for that, and thank you for and good luck on your race. And I want you to know that I'm behind you as a disabled community. If you need some help, let me know. And my I want I want to ask you a favor. If you're gonna campaign with let there be a disabled person to speak on their behalf on your campaign trail.
So several folks. This is such an interesting topic because my son has pretty severe ADHD, and also some folks on my campaign have some ADHD issues, and to the point of it being somewhat of a disability. So I will ask them. Actually, that's a great idea of helping share their stories and how that's impacted them and how we can move this forward.
Yes, because what all this, I'm. This is what I feel what is going on in this country, and we as a disabled community, we're trying to kick that freaking boundary, that freaking imaginary wall that is so freaking tall that even we are kicking, screaming, or shouting from our top of our lungs, but we feel that nobody is listening to us.
It's so frustrating. I do hear this a lot from politicians in particular, where it's sort of like this idea that if you can't work, then you don't have value. But
Mhm.
the reality is that we all belong here. We all have a place in America, and it really sucks that our government is trying to again carve out these marginalized folks and say you just don't have a place. I don't believe that I never will.
Thank you for letting me. And Jess, thank you for bringing me up. And I wanna say echo this statement real quick. And I'm gonna say this for on behalf of immigrant family. We didn't come here to hurt you. We didn't come here to harm anybody. We come here to work and just be ourselves.
Yeah, of
Okay,
course.
guys.
Thank you so much, Bacon. And statistically, we can see that countries that are open to immigration, that understand how to help immigrants become part of the broader culture and communities, always see economic and social benefits from that happening. So we just like it's so ridiculous to me that this is such a big issue that we can't find a way to move forward positively and include these folks.
Thank you again.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Bacon. Laura, could you remind me what congressional district you're running for?
Wisconsin's third.
Third. Yes. Fabulous. And who's your opponent again?
Eric Van Orden.
Oh, he even sounds like, yeah, just yeah. Awesome. Hey, Susu, thanks for coming up.
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm sort of gonna go off on the more about the sort of disability stuff and what's happening with our government now and how you plan to maybe combat some of this. RFK, for one, and how he is marginalizing people with autism, with ADHD, and the things that he has said about that in terms of, autistic people need to go to camps, so do ADHD people need to go to camps. And, as a teacher of special ed kids, I know that many of those kids can lead very fulfilling lives and do very well in life. I mean, the number of people who are learning disabled, who like Einstein and people like that, who did incredible things in the world, need to not be marginalized and pushed to the side. And I'm just sort of wondering where you are in terms of combating that, how you think you might combat that.
That's a great question. So, yeah, like I said, we kind of call ourselves the No Spicy campaign because I think, like most of the folks that are helping me run for this office, a lot of the folks on my team are actually neurodivergent in some way or another, myself included. I think that I've had my own struggles with ADHD. So that said, I certainly can understand where you're coming from. I tend to agree with you. I think there's a messaging war that we need to be aware of. And again, it goes to this deeper issue with the Republican Party in particular of saying some people belong, some people are problems. Some people are good, some people are just not. and that's not the case at all. I have a hard time even thinking in that direction. When I look at the amount of diversity in this country, not just by race, but by whether they're disabled or not, whether they are rich or poor or whatever, there are a lot of ways to be an American. And we need to accept that all of those people belong in this country and continue to fight for everyone's place here. I don't think that the right answer is sending folks to camps. I don't think that the right answer is carving off different parts of our communities. We just make sure that we provide access to the resources that people need to live full and fulfilling lives.
Sorry, I turned off my mic so I wasn't making noises while I cooked dinner and talked.
No worries.
Susu, can I ask you a question? Are there programs in particular that you'd like to see, or that I could research more about to learn what I could promote in terms of mental health and some of these things?
I guess as a teacher, one of my concerns is what's happening to the Department of Education, and seeing what's happening with, IDEA laws and what I'm hearing about happening around the country, and how they're not following written IEPs, and they're pushing these kids out of sub-separate classrooms and into regular classrooms. And, it's illegal for one.
We had to fight with our school district in order to get my son through his IEP program. So yeah, I understand.
Yeah. I'm the mother of this, I guess, is another question for you. I am the mother of a adopted daughter who has naturalized citizenship. I adopted her from overseas, and I'm very concerned about the rhetoric around pulling naturalized citizenship from people. What's your take on that?
If I'm for or against taking away someone's naturalized citizenship, no, they're citizens. Once you pass a citizenship bar, you are in this country, you are a citizen. I don't care if, whatever this government says, it's nonsense. Like, you've reached the bar, you are a citizen of this country.
No, I am concerned, but, partly I adopted her from Morocco, so she's Moroccan. So there we have the whole Middle Eastern connection, which, they don't like that. And in addition, if she gets a speeding ticket or whatever, there's an opportunity for them to say, oh, you broke the law. And what kind of law breaking from somebody who's a naturalized citizenship deserves to have it pulled? Because there are times when that happens.
Even if this is someone that is that commits a worse offense, let's say that you still became an American citizen, you're still subject to our laws and jurisdiction. That doesn't mean we take away someone's citizenship. We just deal with it through our justice system. That's the social contract. Like, I don't understand what else we're supposed to do. I don't think that we're supposed to send people to other countries where, depending on what age they were adopted, they may not even recognize. One of the guys that helps with my campaign has been in our country for he's 45. So he was adopted when he was 4 years old from Ecuador. From El Salvador. And so, I understand, he goes through a lot of fear every day, wondering if there's things that are going to happen to him or to his kids, because his kids are, seemingly maybe immigrants, but they're not. They're born and legal citizens of this country. Again, it just goes back to what I'm saying, which is, we don't make decisions about who is and who isn't American when someone is a citizen of this country. If you're born here, you've got birthright citizenship. If you become a naturalized citizen, you are a citizen and you belong here. And frankly, I think an easier path to immigration is something that will actually benefit our society. So as much as folks on the right would have you argue against. Again, statistics have shown that societies that are inclusive and open to immigration, of course, there needs to be some sort of process and some sort of way to check into folks in their background and make sure that we're bringing in people that aren't going to come and commit crimes or whatever. But once we pass that bar, like let's welcome people here to this country, like maybe we used to, because we are a country of immigrants.
We are for sure. Uh, okay. No, thank you for talking, and I will step down and let someone else come up.
Thanks, Susu.
Thank you, Susu. So, to keep the conversation going while we're waiting for our next person to pop up to ask you a question, I would like to ask you about your opponent. What would you say has been the most egregious thing that he has done since he has taken office? And what would you do differently? I know there's so many options here, right? But if you were to pick the one thing that he's
I
done,
mean,
and what would you do differently?
there are some recent things that I think are especially egregious. Like right after the HR1 bill was passed, someone tweeted something about how this was going to cut all of these social programs for people, and he retweeted it with a simple like, you can go find this out. It's a meme for a while, or been a meme for a while. He retweeted it with simply the caption "Yes" in all caps and an exclamation point. That was his response to like how excited he was that this was happening. So he's gotten a lot of flack for that around the district here. Gosh, beyond that, I mean, he says he wasn't involved in the actual storming of the Capitol, but there are photos of him there on January 6th as well. And I think that, frankly, anyone that was there participating or supporting is disqualified from public service.
Yeah, up to and including the president, I believe. I'm right there with you. So there are like a million things that are hitting us in the face every single day, like a fire hose to the face, but not in an exfoliating, sort of relaxing sort of way, And it's so hard for us to focus on one thing all the time because there's just so much coming at us. What is one thing that you're absolutely passionate about that you feel like it needs to be front and center in this election cycle?
I want people to stop treating this like a regular election cycle. I want people to get out and join community groups. This is so critical right now. We've seen over the last about 20 or so years where people have adopted technology and they stay more in their homes and they don't get out to meet their neighbors or get involved in their communities as much. Right now is about the best time to go out and do this. Meet your neighbors, understand who is in your community. Because when we have these face-to-face conversations, I go out and talk to Republicans. As part of my campaigning, but also because I'm just genuinely curious. Sometimes I want to understand why they believe certain things, and it's non-confrontational and it's conversational, and it's a way to understand that in many ways we see very eye to eye. It's on these like sometimes like 2 to 3% social issues that like will have wildly differentiating opinions on things. So. Number one, get out and meet your neighbors. Number two, join some community groups. And that means, someone that's trying to do mutual aid things. For me, that was joining the Chippewa Valley ACLU chapter and our local help form, a local Democratic Socialists of America. For those that don't know, I'm a Democratic Socialist. So finding ways to connect with other people in your community just to be understanding of like, if there's a need for mutual aid, which I think we're going to see as more and more services get ripped out of the federal government, they're going to fall to everyday people to lean on neighbors in order to accomplish. And knowing your neighbors is the best way to prevent conflict in the future because, if that person works for an authority that maybe is going to start clamping down on things happening in your community, if they know you personally, if they know you're, as a human to human, they're a lot less likely to resort to dehumanizing you, committing some acts of violence, things like that. Those are the ways in which we build stronger communities. So I'm going to say it, get off TikTok, get out in your communities, talk to folks, go to these meetings, make that time a day or two a week to get to know other folks in your area.
I think that's really important advice to give to people. And I think that as a country, we have been so trained, for lack of a better term, to focus on individualism rather than community these days. And with everything happening, it's so easy for us to just kind of retreat into our own shells and not be brave and get out there. But I think now is the perfect time for us to do it. So
If you
thank
want
you
my
for
class
that.
war perspective on it, it's a lie. The rugged individualism idea is a lie that the upper class tells us, so that they want us to think that we just get to do. We have to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. We have to do it all ourselves. We can't rely on each other. We can't find ways to work together. They want you to think that we're all just in it for ourselves. And when they do that, it makes it really easy to sort of say, oh, well, we can go ping, ping, ping and pick people off one by one. And yeah, I do look at it as a bit of a class conflict, because they are being incentivized and they're using the government in order to enrich themselves. This has been their goal for the last 45 years. All of those benefits of the New Deal. I'm like a late Gen Xer, early millennial. I feel like my generation was the last to benefit from that New Deal era politics, where both FDR and Eisenhower understood the need to have these social programs, have them funded by the wealthy people, because they are able to work at a scale that requires them to give back into the society that they're frankly exploiting, lowercase e. We're not making a judgment here, but profit is exploitation to a degree. And when they overexploit and they take without returning some sort of form of society that benefits everybody, it creates this level of inequity where you have rich people saying, yeah, figure it out for yourselves, but we're not gonna, pay you a living wage to do that. We're gonna, take daycare away or childcare away. So now you have to figure out how to pay for that yourselves. We're gonna take medical care and we're gonna put a meter in between that for between you and your doctor. Every time you go and see a doctor, we have to take our cut. And before you know it, everything is just a for-profit thing, and you're standing there by yourself going, how does anyone make it in this country? So that's where I'm saying, like, they use roads just like we do. They use the fire and police department. They benefit from our military. They benefit from, all these social programs. They should help fund them.
Yep, 1,000%. All right, I'm going to bring Mike up to ask a question of you.
Sounds good.
Hey there, Mike.
Hi. Am I coming through?
Hi,
You
Mike.
are. We can hear you
Good
loud
to
and
see
clear.
I met Mike.
How's it going, Laura?
Yeah, this is great. Hi, Mike.
I wanted to ask a question about a topic that's definitely the top of my list of things I'm focusing on, which is Medicare for All.
Mhm.
I wanted to see what techniques you used when you were answering questions about it, how we can afford it. Because every time I bring it up, no one questions that it's a good thing. They all say, well, how are you going to pay for it? Tax the rich, right? And I generally say, I just tax them at all, let alone, tax them more. It's just tax them at all. But I was wondering what you used in particular about Medicaid for all, or Medicare for all. I mean,
How do we pay for it? I actually got that question a few times. Have gotten that question a few times myself. So typically, my answer is, well, yes. Other societies have figured out how to make healthcare affordable and accessible to all members of their society. We can do the same thing. We're a pretty smart country when we put our minds to something. So that, number one. Number two, right now, a lot of the expense is because we aren't able to negotiate. We don't have a single payer system. We've got an insurance system, and so insurance is incentivized to negotiate for the biggest cut that they can get, and the hospitals and providers, not the doctors themselves, but the infrastructure around that industry, is also incentivized to make it as expensive as possible so they can extract their share and pay all of these administrative costs all the way up. And I'm not saying that we don't need some level of administrative support in order to deliver healthcare, but to the level that we're doing right now, where we have CEOs making millions and millions of dollars in the name of denying care to everyday people, there's something wrong with that system. So that's another thing. The third thing I'll often bring up is that, again, when we have the power to negotiate as a large body politic against a healthcare industry, we can make some things happen. We remove those extra costs, we can bring down the cost of healthcare, and we bring up the tax base in order to do it. When you look at how much the wealthiest, not even 1%, 0.1%. So this is people with a net worth of $43 million plus. Again, not a lot of people. We're talking about 1 out of every 1,000 people has this level of net worth. Their typical effective tax rate every year is somewhere between 1 and 4%. If people look this up, the richest Americans often pay a 1 to 4% effective tax rate. I guarantee you working people in this country pay a higher tax rate than that 0.1% of people. Oftentimes, we're talking 15, 20% of your income goes to your taxes. So why is that happening? It's because we tax income, we tax capital gains, but we don't tax big old piles of money and wealth. And so if you go into my video history also, you'll find something about the progressive wealth tax. A progressive wealth tax is about taxing these
Yes.
uncaptured revenues from big piles of wealth
I am
that
not on
snowball in
video.
growth because they're just not taxed. You see a net worth grow from $1 billion to $2 billion. We don't capture any of that revenue, but believe it or not, they can borrow against it and use it just as well as if it's income. So I think there's a level of income, probably $50 million and up, that we need to talk about implementing a progressive wealth tax that, again, taxes unrealized gains just as if it were income and adds back into our tax and removes this loophole that prevents billionaires from exploiting our tax base.
My apologies. Yeah, someone came in and asked me, "Are you on a call?"
I was just talking
Um,
over you, so hopefully people heard that.
I do apologize, and absolutely the answer I expected from you, and yeah, it's generally how I answer the question is we don't even tax them at all right now. So if you wouldn't even be that big of an increase for them, but for everyone else, it would be literally everything. It would
Life
be
changing.
the ability.
Yeah.
It would be the ability to not sit here and worry about going bankrupt because of their health care. And yeah, sorry, the people who my daughter came in and was asking me about that. You guys all have a good night. It was good to see you, Laura.
Good to see you,
Thank you
Mike.
so much, Mike. I appreciate you stopping in.
And just to be clear, rich people will still exist. Rich people will still be disgustingly wealthy. We're just asking them to pay their share so that they're funding the society that they're using to get to that level of wealth.
They wouldn't even miss it. Like,
No?
they have more money than they could spend over a course of 200 lifetimes. Like, they wouldn't even miss it. So while we're talking about big money, let's talk about fundraising, okay? So, as you know, big money has completely destroyed the fabric of our government. It's made it nearly impossible for regular people just like you and me and anybody else in the chat to run for any political office without kowtowing to AIPAC and other giant, money-making machines for politics. How are you fundraising, and what can we do to help you meet your goals?
Great. Thanks for asking. So most of my fundraising right now is I'm doing town halls and meet and greets in person when I have time. I'm doing small asks occasionally on social channels. You're 100% right about the AIPAC situation, and I've been very vocal in rejecting AIPAC and those sorts of PAC donations. That's what this is actually behind me is my I got an endorsement from Citizens Against AIPAC Corruption because I 100% agree. AIPAC is funding both sides because they know they'll get that return on investment back in terms of military aid and political support. And we need to make a change there. So the biggest things that'll help me is, if you've got a $5 or $10 ability to do a recurring donation, that's great. You can jump on my website. It's laurabenjaminforcongress.com. There's a donate button, and you can jump in there and do that. Or if you're just like, hey, this is really great, I've got $20 or $50 I can spare, I'd love the support.
Awesome. The last thing I want to touch on before we get into Activist Alley here is I want to talk to you about term limits. Can you give us some insight on how you would approach term limits, especially when it comes to members of our highly inadequate, formerly Supreme Court?
Yeah. So there's a policy on my website about this. I'm a huge fan of term limits. I believe that Supreme Court should be 10 years and we're done. I don't think we should do lifetime appointments. It opens the door for too many corrupt things, as we've seen from some members of this court. In addition, I think that we're facing down a lifetime, potentially some 30 or 40 years of a court being stale and stagnant without seeing a lot of change in terms of the mentality and vision of what those people are going to bring. And honestly, like, I know a lot of them are my age or maybe just a little bit older, but I don't want to see my generation running the show in 20 years. I think that should be the next generation or the generation after. Like, we need to have a more legacy-minded government that understands that, when you get to be 60 or 70 years old, it's time to pass the torch and let the next generation kind of run the show and bring their vision for what they want to see out of an America move forward. In addition to that, I'm for term limits in the Senate and in the House. I think that we should see a maximum of 6 terms in the House. I've been a little bit back and forth on what that number might look like, but I do think that there's some benefit to getting a couple of terms of experience as you get momentum. But again, once you've reached that 12-year point, maybe it's time to let someone new run for that seat or open the door up for someone else. And then in the Senate, I also think there could be a 3-term limit. So maybe we're capping that at 18 years. So, people that want to be lifelong in politics have 30 years of opportunity at the federal level to serve in those offices. And honestly, that's a career. So let's do something like that.
I love this. Not a huge fan of people who are not able to fly a plane flying our government. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, if
Okay.
you can't fly a plane, you really shouldn't be in politics.
Well, that may disqualify me because I had LASIK surgery. So
I'm talking about age only. It's fine. It's fine.
No,
Okay.
it's not age. I just know I have friends that are pilots, and you have like certain restrictions based on I think it's like if you wear contacts or have a LASIK or something like that. Maybe it's certain kinds of planes. I don't know.
They have a lot of rules, and hats off to them. Those guys are amazing. So we're going to kind of switch gears a little bit here. We've gotten some amazing information here tonight, and we've done wonderful things to learn about you, Laura. I'm so glad that you decided that you could join us. Thank you, by the way, for
I'm so glad.
hopping in last minute, despite the internet issues that people in our country are really suffering with, you guys. It's kind of crazy. Well, we're going to switch gears, and I'm going to bring up an amazing content creator who is doing some amazing things to help get people involved. This content creator is part of a movement that has the potential to move and shake the fabric of this country, and maybe he has some insight for you. Folks, it's 7:20-ish, and it's time for Activist Alley with Devin. Take it away, sir.
Oh, that was an intro. Thank
It
you.
was an intro. See, I don't skimp on the intro. I'm a voice actor, so I gotta give you the whole business, man. Like,
Oh, now my palms are sweaty. Oh no, the big screen too.
the
Oh my
big
God,
screen
yes.
too. I know. I'm glad. You have the stage say.
Okay.
Anywho, so the People's Sick Day. It is a movement that I am a part of that was started by women. It is a women-led movement, which means it's being done right and it's being done strategically. It is a 3-day labor strike, a 3-day economic blackout, and also during those 3 days, you can either turn off all of the streaming services, Apple, Spotify, etc., or just full on cancel your subscriptions. Reason we're doing this, I mean, it's pretty blatantly obvious. The overreach by the government, them going full authoritarian, full dictator, and we're had enough of their shit, essentially. So,
It's fair.
during those 3 days, we will be doing nothing. And this is exactly how we strike back at them, as I like to say, because it's a strike. Get it? See what I did there? So yeah, and we did this because we're sick of this shit. What was I gonna say? We will be dropping it 48 hours in advance. That way, we're not giving them a heads up as to when it's coming. Because if you think about it, if your manager, director, what have you, is to hear about this, and a bunch of them have, we've gotten feedback, they say they're already worried about it. And they say, oh, are you participating in this people's sick day? You are going to get your pay docked or you're getting written up, what have you. So that way, they don't know it's coming. Fox News, they thought they knew it was coming. They thought, oh, we totally infiltrated their Discord that we had created. You didn't get any information. You don't know when the date is. You don't know what's happening. And that actually helped out because while it was on Fox, they were listing our 23 list of demands, starting with the impeachment removal of this entire administration. People were seeing it and saying, oh, you want $20 an hour for all workers? You want Medicare for all? You want hands off Social Security and Medicaid? That sounds pretty good. I think I want that too. So they were in our Discord. Mary Trump spoke about it on her podcast. Two of our organizers, Casey and Caress, they were interviewed by Joy Reid. So we've had some motion with this thing. And if you do want to join the Discord or the Facebook group, you go to thepeoplessickday.com. 2 S's, peoples, S at the end of peoples, S at the beginning of sickday.com. That's where we're organizing, and it would behoove you to join that because this app is going to mess with us left-leaning people on September 13th. That the new community guidelines are basically going to nuke the left-leaning creators, and we already have no guarantee that we will end up on your For You page when we drop our announcement because we're already getting suppressed enough as it is. So that way people don't miss a day and say, oh, well, I didn't know. You go to the Discord, you go to the Facebook group, you wait for go time. We partnered with Messages from Mayday. If you follow her on here, she is also an activist. So we do Mayday disruption days. So we will basically give assignments in the Discord or Facebook, Reddit throughout the week saying like, hey, like call the National Guard public affairs line, send an email to your congressperson to, get the hostages back from the flotilla originally with Chris Smalls. So we're trying to do we're evolving as we go. We're also getting involved with grassroots candidates like yourself, and we're trying to, get people to do phone banking and door knocking and all that good stuff. So we're trying to be in this for the long haul and not just do okay, we did our 3 days, time to go. That's enough. And yeah, Naomers just put the Discord right there in the chat.
Yeah, so click on that Discord and go join if you can, guys. It's gonna be lit. But it's also gonna be really good for our country to have this many people join together in activism to really change things for the better. So thank you, Devin. I appreciate you.
Actually, Laura, real quick, I had a question.
Yes.
If you, when you win, if you were presented with a legislation or some type of, I don't know, solution that would lead to somewhat of a Nuremberg trials where accountability would be demanded for everybody who is participating in these crimes against humanity, would you support that?
It's in my platform. It's on my website. 100%.
Love it.
Love it.
Shut me up.
I mean, I think that's really awesome. Okay, so
egregious constitutional violations of this administration are beyond measure right now. So yeah, there should be accountability for this.
and so
Perfect.
from the top all the way to the bottom, right? Are you also planning on bringing regular red hat wearing Joes in for?
I think that there's a conversation around ice cream vendors that need to be seen in court. Yeah.
I love it. 1,000%. Yeah, that's a good soundbite for followings. I think that's awesome.
That's what the people want to hear. All right,
That's
I'm
what
going to
the
drop
people
in.
want. Thank you so much, Devin. I appreciate you.
Thanks,
Thank
Laura.
you for having me. Talk to you later.
Latas.
I think one
So
of the
we,
biggest failings. Sorry to jump in.
oh,
That
go
one
ahead.
of the biggest failings of the last administration was not to carry through justice on what happened in 2020. So, yeah, there's we need to talk about that when the tide changes.
I think that there's a lot of hope on the Democratic Party, for lack of a better term, that they can just continue to take the high road and business as usual. And if they could just hang on until the midterms, then, you know, there could be a blue tsunami that comes in. But people don't realize that it's been 9 months just about since this president took office, and our midterm elections are 14 months away.
The Democratic Party needs to stand for something again, and that something is everyday people. It needs to stand against oppression. It needs to stand for living wages and a workable country, and it needs to stand for economic, social, and frankly political justice when things like this happen.
Yeah, the high road thing is getting really old. I really wish that a lot of people in the Democratic Party would find a spine. But, you know, neither here nor there. That's what we're doing here. That's why we need more candidates like you, Laura. I think that you're going to be fantastic, and I have no doubt whatsoever that you're going to be able to move mountains in your district. So I'm really rooting for you. I think that it's great. So we
Thank you, Jess. I
are.
appreciate the time. I'm so glad to have been able to join you tonight, and best of luck with your show and your efforts too. We
Thank
need a lot
you.
of people in this fight for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm just a mom in Texas. I can't run for office here because you have to live here for 7 years before you can run for office. So this is what we're doing. And if we can platform grassroots candidates from all over the country and start building a better community and building stronger networks and asking, you know, the right questions and getting the right eyes in front of things, and that's only going to help us moving forward. So, all right, I'll do a little closing here, and then we'll. It's about time for TBH, so we'll get going here. We're getting close to time, but before we go, Laura, if you wouldn't mind telling the good folks one more time how they can get involved in your campaign and help you support your run.
Biggest things, spread the word. If you're on my socials, there's too many variations. It's usually Laura for WI or Laura for Congress, depending on your favorite channel. I am most active here on TikTok, where I try to post a video or two a week, and also on Blue Sky, where I'm doing daily posts. On both channels, those are posts by me, not by my team. My team does manage my Facebook and Instagram, so there's some variation that you'll see on those channels if you follow me there. Other than that, on my website, laurabenjaminforcongress.com, there's a donate button. $5 or $10 goes a long way if you can afford it. If you can do more, I always appreciate that too. And then there's also a volunteer tab. We've got volunteers working from all over the country. So I'm always happy to have new folks join on the team that want to just contribute in whatever way they can, wherever they think their strengths are. I do really appreciate it. Again, laurabenjaminforcongress.com. And thanks again for having me.
Of course. Have you heard of Hype?
I don't know Hype. What's Hype?
Hype.live. It's a new social media platform.
Yeah, cool.
Both with, you know, trying to be very careful what I'm saying on this app. But check it out. It's a brand new app, and that's where I'm hopefully going to be migrating once they're, like I said, brand new, working out some kinks. So, but definitely look into it. It should be a lot more user friendly than this one, shockingly enough. So, okay, so, and just a reminder to everybody in here that big money and politics is absolutely ruined our country. We're no longer interested in politics that is only serving the corporations. We don't want candidates who are funded by AIPAC and other special interests. We want candidates just like this who are going to serve the people, but that money has to come from somewhere. So whether it's your wallet or your time, just make sure that you're doing everything in your power to help these grassroots candidates. Even following and sharing their content gets more eyes on them and pushes their message across the interwebs. And you can do that for free, folks. The time for change is now, and we all have to work together. Wouldn't you agree?
100%. 1,000%.
1,000%. Yes. This has been super wonderful, and I would be absolutely remiss if I didn't send a special thanks to the amazing mods, our incredible content creators who are here to support us today, as well as our incredible design genie, Kayla. Please send them and our candidates some well-deserved love in the comments. Also, make sure you're registered to vote and keep your eyes on your election cycles in your area, because they're doing some hanky stuff, and you've got to make sure that you are paying attention. The days of us just showing up to vote at our election uh, contests thing are gone at this point. So make sure you're paying attention, make sure you are registered, and keep an eye on your local election schedules. This was wildly inspiring, and I know we have a lot of folks who are scared right now, but I want to remind everyone that the fear is the point. Fear leads to inaction. Fear leads to panic. Panic leads to inaction, but hope and community are the antidote for all of it. So tune in on Friday. We are going to sit down with a man who needs no introduction, but he's not afraid to run into burning buildings and isn't scared to put out proverbial fires in D.C. So bring your questions and your community on Friday at 6:30 Eastern when we sit down with Bernard Taylor from Florida's 21st Congressional District. Be sure to follow us on Substack, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and the Tube of You. Oh, and follow thepeoplesickday.com to throw a wrench in this bish. I said bish. We love the TikTok shop. It's about time for TBH, so make sure you're following Tab and Missy. Guys, please say hi in the comments, Tab and Missy. If you guys are not following them, please do so. It's about time for their show. It's coming up next, so take care of each other. Thank you, Laura, again so much. And I'm sure that we will be in touch. I would love to have you back. You guys are all amazing. Thank you. And I hope you all have a fantastic evening. Toodles.